that June and I both hosted Rotarians from Australia in May, because June overheard me say something on the slide, like, oh, I really wish I could go. And she arranged for Tim and I, really, to be on the team because we were a late add-in. So I really want to appreciate that, June. Anyhow, Rotary Friendship Exchange. This was a trip of a lifetime. Okay, where's this at? How do you make this go on this one? It worked better on mine.
Rob said
Where's
page down.
page down? Oh, right there. Got it. There we go. What are friendship exchanges? This is an international exchange that Rotary sponsors that allows members, friends, family members, all to go to another place for a variety of different reasons. And the expectation is that it's going to be a reciprocal event. One of the things that we were tasked with in our minds was getting the people at 9550 to come back, because we had heard ahead of time they weren't really planning on doing that reciprocal part.
They are now.
They are now. They like this. Benefits. There's a list of them. Our trip definitely was to build enduring friendships and to learn about the region, the peoples, the food, the languages. But there was an article at the time that ours was coming out in the Rotarian magazine that talked about another club doing it mainly for matching grants opportunities. Basically what happens in our district is that there's a friendship exchange committee that organizes, that contacts other countries, districts, offices, and sees if we can get something arranged. Ours was arranged a little bit differently. I believe it was Dick Ray who met with a couple of Australian district governors to be several years ago in their California training. And they talked about how wonderful it would be to have some exchanges. And last year, we sent a group to Southern Australia, 9520, which is in the Adelaide area. And then about 2 months later, a group came up in May, and that's how I got introduced to the whole idea much more thoroughly than what I had learned about at district conference a couple of years ago. He ended up talking to two and arranged two, and that's why there was actually two going to Australia. All exchanges are paid for by the participants unless the district wants to add in extra money. The host families are not expected to have any really big financial burden. Mainly they offer a place to sleep and usually a couple meals a day. And it can get expensive while you're down there.
And in our case, it was all funded by participants. Our travel there and back, and the spending money that we wanted, we paid.
Here's your pointer time. So this is the district that we were at, was 9550.
This is 9550, and it includes a part of East Timor.
Interesting.
Now, that's a huge area. I don't know how the district governor gets around.
What I want you to imagine is that the United States basically fits right on top. I always think of Australia as a really small place, but it's really very similar in size to the United States. So I can imagine how that district is even bigger than you can imagine.
We're in the CAMS.
Here, wait a
and
second.
CAIRS.
Where's that? Oh, there. Oh, I know what it is. Wait, don't talk about that yet.
Okay. Go.
We'll go. Oh, wrong way.
The story of Tim's life.
You expect me to stop him talking? This was May. I actually put this up because it's very important to us. This was the group that came in May 2008, 2018 from District 9520. We had a wonderful time. Kathy arranged a really, really wonderful trip for them while they were here. And because, what do people say when they visit you? If you're ever in our area, come visit us. So Tim and I chose, thinking Australia's not that big. We'll go down to Southern Australia and see them. They were really open to us coming before the trip. So we actually connected and had the opportunity. We were there for about 4 days. It was a wonderful experience. but I was not dressed for how cold it can be or cool in southern Australia in September. They're still in winter, actually. They arranged for us to meet with 2 of the other couples that had come up for a lunch, and we had a wonderful time. Tim and I got to feed kangaroos. This was most up front and
This is not a kangaroo.
The emu is a past. This is a reserve. Oh, actually, a winery has also a rehab reserve for young kangaroos that come in. So it was really a wonderful time.
Flip back 2 slides. Yes, questions? Ken's is up here.
Wait a second. Okay, just show the general area.
We went to Adelaide to visit the couple that stayed with us down here.
No, it's right. It's actually Adelaide is
Down
right
here.
No, it's right here. And this is Tank.
Oh, okay.
This is the equivalent of Minnesota. This is the equivalent of Southern Florida.
When we were here, you gotta remember, like Mary said, it's very cold. The only thing between that and Antarctica was 3,000 miles of real cold water. So when you think of southern climes, this is not Florida.
Too far.
Okay.
Okay, this is the trip that we took. Now your pointer. You can do your thing.
We started in Cairns. C-A-I-R-N-S is Cairns. Went to
By the way,
Marina.
that's my ancestral name.
Did you say hands or arms?
I don't know how they pronounced it back then.
Then we were in Mariba.
I think Tully's the green
Then we,
spot.
what's that?
The green spot, I think, is in between.
Okay. Then we went down to Tully, which is down in this area, Townsville. We ended up in Ayr, and that was basically a 2-week trip. We flew into Cairns, left from Townsville.
Some people's flight in, you guys are making it backwards. Some people's flight into Cairns was not as nice as others. We were all supposed to get there on a Wednesday. Tim and I were feeling really pretty good because we had 4 days of already adjusting to the time change, which is basically 12 hours approximately there. The plan was that we were going to get together for a meeting that night. We arrived at 11 and we stood around for over an hour waiting for someone to come pick us up. Luckily, a really, really nice man who worked as customer service came and chatted with us because he knew that we looked kind of lost waiting. But our host did arrive, and it really wasn't bad. Tim and I got to go because our host really didn't know what to do with us until the meeting. She met up with another host family and with Kitty, who was our single lady, and that was actually the first time Kitty actually became our third amigo, our third musketeer throughout the trip. After that, we went to the first meeting, and we went to the coast right there, saw the ocean, actually got to walk on the ocean, which was much warmer than walking on by the ocean down in Adelaide. The first meeting was kind of funny because there was only us there, Diane and Tom were there, and Kitty.
Diane Woodson is in the Stanton Augusta Club, I think, in Waynesboro.
Yes, Stanton.
These folks are in the,
Winchester.
Frederick County.
That's Diane and
This is-
Kim.
This is Maria.
They're both veterinarians.
Yeah. And
And then you guys.
there's you,
Yeah.
and there's Jim.
So what we've found out is that we had worried about it, but that a certain couple from the United States got stuck in the airport because flights got canceled, and they were not in there yet.
We
And
got a lot of-
reservations were lost.
Yeah, we got a lot of attention when we came into the meeting though, because it was just like ready to start. We were picked up just in time at the airport in Cairns to get there, but it was not a pleasant trip for us. But
That
it
part.
worked out, that part wasn't, but it worked out great.
Kim and Marietta actually made it in really early. They made it in at 8 o'clock. but they went to bed and they were so sound asleep, the hosts were afraid to wake them up. They eventually obviously did make it in. This was a meeting of the, in Cairns, they have about 6 Rotary clubs, I think now still. 3 clubs were having problems. Yeah, I know, 3 clubs are having problems, and so they formed one, but they really were talking about their Rotary fundraiser. This is what we did. We were sent off in the first day to the butterfly park at the botany thing without anybody, which kind of made us feel uncomfortable, made me feel uncomfortable, but it was a great opportunity for us to all get to know each other. We also, on the next day, went to see the Aboriginal Cultural Museum and actually go up across the World Heritage Site of the rainforest, which was absolutely beautiful.
And we learned how to throw a boomerang over the
Yes.
Aboriginal Park.
Yeah.
And a spear.
Did you
And
catch
most
it?
of us did a really bad
We
job.
Yes, we would starve to death.
He won't come
You
back.
eat each other.
Tim took this picture because at the city museum it said Rotary Club of whatever, and I think it's just a donation. This was our Saturday night. June volunteered us to help work, but they really didn't need us, so we just spent some money there, bought ducks. They have a duck race. I've heard of duck races up here in the United States. This is their annual event. They raise a lot of money, and I think multiple clubs in the area do this. This is in the Esplanade, up right there next to the bay, on the Ocean Bay there. We had an opportunity to meet with the district governor when we were there, Greg Lawson. We also got posed with the Rotary duck. And then after 4 days, we had our first departure and really our first really good group shot of everybody with our hosts. Then we went to Mariba and Atherton. This is on the highlands of the area. It's a very interesting area. There are 2 smaller clubs. They split off at one point and they had a lot of competition between each other. We had a meal the first night with Mariba's club, really didn't meet with them, and I don't know if they don't meet regularly anyhow. We went to several sites there. We got to feed wallabies. We saw the termite nest. This is one of about a dozen that were in a row across from a coffee plantation there. We went from staying in the rainforest in a wonderful house to a more modern house, and they had the most gorgeous outdoor living spaces there. Actually, everywhere they have great outdoor living spaces, especially up in northern Australia.
This is their district governor.
They brought us to that warehouse. That was an old World War II hospital that the Atherton Club is renovating, trying to make it preserve its history there. They really care a lot about World War II history in the area that we were at. I don't know if you have anything to say about that, Tim, because you're the boss.
Anybody ever seen the movies with Ronald Reagan, Richard Todd, The Hasty Heart? The British soldier who's dying and doesn't know it? That's based kind of like on these hospitals. So this hospital is restoring that, where they would send troops from throughout the South Pacific to rear detachment hospitals for care, pending their return to the States or combat.
We went to the Atherton Rotary meeting. Few people exchanged flags. We had a flag issue, so we didn't exchange with them. May have gotten one from them. I had the really great fortune of sitting at this meeting across from a 50-year Rotarian, and multiple times he mumbled, "I liked Rotary better in the 70s. And we all know what that means. But I'm going to give you, they had a young woman as president, and whenever she asked for volunteers, he was the first to volunteer for her. So that was fun. I have a picture of Dr. Mark and Neil. Dr. Mark is the Rotarian in Atherton, and Neil is her partner / spouse. He has the heart of a Rotarian. He is working very, very hard to create affordable housing for people in the area. He built, and we got to see one-room, bedroom apartments that he had, 8 of those, and then a new
A group home.
group home for men who are unfortunate. Australia already has a guaranteed income of $500, but that's not enough for most people to have, to afford a place to live down there. And he really felt that if people could have an address, that's the first step for them to actually get a job. And we were also very fortunate because we went to Yungabera, and at 3 p.m. when you're not supposed to, we saw a young platypus swimming up
This
above
is a sign with Marietta and
me.
Mary.
this is a platypus.
This is what they
How
look like
big
up
would you
close.
say the platypus was?
It was about 18 inches long. They only get, in the north, they get about 18 to 20 inches. In the south, the southern part of their habitat, they'll get up to about 3 feet. Okay, so this one was pretty close to the maximum size for a northern platypus. And he was just taking his time swimming downstream.
But the interesting thing was, local people had never seen
Yeah.
platypus. Our host
That's for everyone.
could not believe it. We were really fortunate because that was a very rare sighting.
That's awesome.
The birds are beautiful down there. One of the things is also the snakes. You guys live at Atherton. You were what were you guys warned about? To keep the screen doors closed because there's how many poisonous?
Something like 8 or 9 of those poisonous snakes in the world like to call Australia home.
Pythons around, they're around everywhere. It's amazing.
Yeah, and there's some mice in there with those snakes, by the way. And we had some interesting, there's banana trees that were growing, and this is a fig tree that I thought was really, really interesting. It's a saprophyte that destroyed things. Then we went to Tully, which claims to be the wettest place in the area. The gumboot signifies the year when they had the most rain ever. If they had it all piled up, that's how much rain they had in that area in a year. And the gumboot was also,
Hey, while you have that great picture, can we get Herb and Tim to slide to this side?
Oh, here.
the gumboot
Over here.
was also a Rotary project. Tully had it was just awesome, the amount of projects that,
There you go.
the projects that they
I'll say this
I was
right.
gonna get one too.
Okay.
Their record rainfall for Tully was 3.9 meters.
Oh, my.
That's the height of the boot that you can walk up the stairs and look out over the area. But that represents their,
This year, they think they had more.
We might need them.
They had flooding in that area. This big patch, when we were going through our really high temperatures here, they were flooding and they were concerned about crocodiles and poisonous snakes in the suburbs because there was nothing but water everywhere in that region.
So their main agriculture, it was, let me go back there. It's sugar cane and bananas. We went to both. I put a picture, an article that a man did on us
sugarcane
of
train.
going through the sugar plant. And they do the more modern version of harvesting sugarcane in Tully. They have a very big footprint of Rotary all through Tully. This man up in the top corner is Ron Hunt. He is the driver of their Rotary Club and Service Committee chair. He looks all around town, sees what needs to be done, and he has the Rotary doing it. That Rotary is got about 30 people in it, only 2 women, a little bit different than ours. You can see all the
They have,
colors.
this is a sign in town, and they put a crosswalk in, and several things, a bench. What was the name of the bench you were sitting at? The
That
bench of knowledge?
Yeah, it was a contradiction in terms.
And this is the article because we went to, at this meeting here, we went to a barbecue with the Tully Rotarians. Tim and I stayed with another couple and we stayed with the butcher. So we got fed very, very well. And he brought the food here. We had fun, we paid, there was fines, there was a great meeting. And I really enjoyed myself in Tully. It was beautiful, it was green, it was gorgeous.
June, that's a lovely picture of you. Yes, it is.
And then we went further south, which is Townsville. We are getting out of the rainforest area. This is, if you look, there's the side of Townsville on the coast and Magnetic Island on the back, and this is looking inland into the vast nothing.
Townsville is the place that had all the rain recently flooding.
Yeah.
Our host, who was an past district governor, had 2 feet of water at the level where Herb and I slept at their house.
The bedroom where we were sleeping has had
It-
2 feet of
And,
water in
and
it.
when we were
Since
there,
we were there.
actually, the Black River runs by their property. He drove us up the riverbed in his 4-wheel. They'd had a drought for the longest time. And that came up and all the way up to their house. So they've really suffered. 20,000 homes were destroyed there. So it's been, Townsville's hit the worst.
They too really support the World War II, the many memorials. This is up on Castle Hill, I believe. Tim and I wandered up there with Kitty's host because our host was a little caught up in an airplane problem and we had to be occupied for a while. This is their strand, the very end of the strand. They have a wonderful man-made beach area because they have so many stinging amoeba?
No, it's
Stinging.
like jellyfish, they call them stingers, they're about that big. And during the season, they'll have to put up nets to keep them from getting into the shore and onto the public beaches because they can kill you. And they're literally in the millions in the water.
There's lots of things in Australia that can kill you. They're very happy.
Well, they were in the process of removing the shark net from the beach to put up the stinger net.
That's right.
Yep, I know. This was a wonderful tour that we had at the Australian Institute of Marine Science. We had our 3-hour experience ended up to be 5 or 6. It was just the most awesome experience learning about what their research is. And we don't have time to go into that right now. We got to go to Magnetic Island, saw koalas on private land. Yeah, just, it was
In the neighborhood in town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they had the babies. Yep.
We saw a dozen in a space of maybe 75 yards. About that.
Easily. Yeah, and Tim and I got to go do a little bit more coastal snorkeling there. We did not get to go out to the Great Barrier Reef.
We were on the fringe.
Our last stop was Ayr and Home Hill. They are an agricultural area, also drought-ridden, a much drier climate. We had an experience of having them burn a field of sugarcane, and it was a really amazing 3 minutes, all this. Tim and I got to go. We were staying with the president of the Air Club, and he had a boat, and he volunteered to take us instead of going to see beef get
Beef breeding operation.
a beef breeding operation. We got to go fishing and collect crabbing, which was a lot more fun. They also have a Rotary park there. I can't tell you a lot about that because I was so exhausted. I slept on the trip to that park, so I don't know what they said.
This is a picture, a scarf of the burning of the field. They only do this when they're ready to replant new plants in that field. They don't burn it off every year. They just burn it prior to, this is the last harvest, and they're going to plant all new sugarcane plants in that whole area. But this was a huge, huge area. I'd say it was from here up to the buildings you can see out through this window. They lit it off on both ends, and within 10 minutes, it had burned the whole thing.
It leaves the good crop standing because it's so moist because of the sugar sap and everything else. And this burns off all the dead leaves and everything. Gives them a chance to harvest the plants cleanly. Then, like Herb said, they can go ahead and replant from that
It's still
point.
green after this over. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And this is a warning for the waterway that Tim and I were in about the attacks of crocodiles.
Yeah, crocodiles
Don't go in
inhabit
the water.
Yeah, crocodiles inhabit this area. Attacks may cause injury or death.
No matter how hard you are,
Don't
don't
go
come in.
wading or swimming. Use care with it. You get in the boat, somebody falls in, say goodbye.
Many people said places that were swimming holes when they were kids, Nobody can go in them now because of the crocodiles.
Our very last night, we were there for just a day and a half really, but it was a very packed day and a half. We went to the joint meeting of the Home Hill and Air Rotary Clubs with the mayor of Burlingtonshire was there as a special guest. Actually, it was really interesting because at the very beginning, they had heard that one of the members was a flag collector. He really wanted a Queensland flag and looked everywhere. He got other flags, he even got East Timor's flag.
I went to a member's office, members like a representative, congressional representative, and asked them if they knew where I could find a Queensland flag, and they normally have flags to give out, and they didn't have any, and I explained why I wanted it, so they gave me...
The mayor gave.
No.
Oh, they gave you this one.
They gave me this one, which is equal in stature to the Australian national flag. This is the Aboriginal flag.
Wow.
So the black symbolizes the people, the sun, and the land. And this is, like I say, in Australia, this one, the national flag and the flag of the Torres Island Straits have equal prominence for display. So they gave me this one and one from the Torres Islands, and they did not have any Queensland flags. And so one of the guys knew I was looking for a flag, and he said he was going to do his best to find one.
And they made a special presentation.
They made a special presentation at the meeting to give me a Queensland flag. No, this was from the mayor. No, it's
Yes, back.
it's the same flag.
Very nice.
It's the same flag. But they made a presentation. The mayor gave the flag. She signed it, Lynn McLaughlin, Mayor, Burlingtonshire Council, and she said this is the only Queensland flag they had. The only official flag that they had for the state of Queensland. And she gave it to me, so this is a very, very nice flag. And they were going to have to go out and get another flag to use for official functions and if their council building and so forth. So it's really, really kind of nice to get this. So.
The next morning, we all had early trips out.
Departure time, 5:55 in the morning.
Yeah. But look at how they try to keep you comfortable in Australia.
Go to the gate, relax, 40 or 30 minutes, relax, chill. No worries.
20 minutes
The national motto of Australia, no worries.
Thank you, guys. I think that was